Well, see, we saw a marathon hearing over 2 days back in May when the judgment was reserved on the issue of, remember, today the verdict that is coming in from the Chief Justice and Justice Massey is only on the issue of whether the implementation of the Act is going to be stayed while the constitutionality of the Act is heard by the Supreme Court. Now, in April and May, when this matter was heard initially, the government had assured that they will not denotify any WAQFs and they will not appoint any persons to the state WAQF board. That was the assurance given by the government at the time. But what are the main points that have been raised by the petitions? Let's look into that, because this Amendment Act that came just earlier this year was immediately challenged. Remember, immediately the day it was passed in the parliament and received presidential assent, the very next day it came to the Supreme Court with over 65, more than 70 petitions challenging the validity. Now, they have challenged this amendment on also, first of all, on the basis of the fact that it violates the 1995 WAQF Act. Secondly, what they've said is that putting in the requirement that WAQF can be made only by somebody who's been a Muslim for at least 5 years violates the right to freedom of religion. Thirdly, is the question of exclusion of WAQF by user. They're saying that properties that have been used as WAQFs, that have been used as either monuments, mazars, or masjids for hundreds of years, which are declared WAQF by user and not are not in fact registered, will potentially be taken over by the government by using this particular law, which will violate the rights of the Muslims. The next point that they have raised is that by mandating registration in this manner and by saying that if the property is under challenge, then it cannot be registered as a WAQF, will open the doors to nefarious persons to just simply put in a challenge to say that the government should look into this issue, and therefore properties that have been used as masjids or mazars for hundreds of years will then be taken over. They've also raised the issue of whether graveyards will then be taken over, since they are not declared WAQFs, are simply WAQF by user. The
Right.
next point relates to implementing the appointment of non-Muslims to the state WAQF boards, which they are saying
Mm-hmm.
is not something that happens in other religions. So a
Mm.
number of points have been raised effectively. We'll find out today if the court agrees to stay these particular provisions, because the government has said that these provisions
Right.
are brought in specifically to protect property. Back to you.